Captain's Logs.
Han Solo. I'm Captain of the Millennium Falcon.
This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Federation starship Enterprise.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
You're listening to Captains Logs and Lightsabers, part of the Geek News Now podcast network.
Hey, Captains Logs and Lightsabers listeners. Got tats? Love your ink? But are you worried that your art will fade over time and the cost to keep it looking vibrant and fresh gets to be too much? Well, that's where Mad Rabbit comes in. After just one use, you'll see how Mad Rabbit is effective on old and new tattoos. All natural ingredients are used to keep this from feeling oily or greasy. Even better, use promo code CLLPOD and save a whopping 20% on every purchase. Keep your ink looking great and save money. Check it out, madrabbit.com, promo code CLLPOD. Hey, welcome to episode 30 of Captains Logs and Lightsabers podcast. My name is Jonathan. I am one of the hosts of the show. I'm joined this week, or this episode and every episode, by my co-host, Chris. How's it going?
I'm good, Jonathan. How you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. We are here to talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 2. And just like the last time we talked about a Star Trek series, I couldn't just give you Chris and I. So this time I found not one, but two guests to join us. So first of all, we're going to welcome Jean-Marc Tolly. He is the host of the War of the Stars podcast on GNN. How's it going?
It is going good. It is actually good to be talking Star Trek. I love Star Wars, but I'm also a Trekkie at heart. So it is going to be exciting to talk about one of my favorite Star Trek series of all time, Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, it's a wonderful series, and I'm going to introduce our second guest, and that is, he is on the Geek, Gauntlet podcast, which is also a live YouTube show every Saturday evening. Welcome, Shah.
Hey, how y'all doing? What's up?
Not much, man. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you coming on. This has been a long time coming, trying to get you on the show, huh?
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, I'm a big fan of both Star Wars and Star Trek, so here I am.
All right. So, of course, we are going to talk Star Trek, Strange New Worlds, but first, we're going to, how did we geek this week? So let's start with Chris. How did you geek this week?
All right. Well, I haven't done too much geek stuff recently, but last week with my Star Trek fan club, the USS Stella Parada, we went to Star Wars night at PNC Park, watched the Pirates play the Cubs, got to watch Darth Vader, some stormtroopers, and some red, Emperor's bodyguards come on the field. And we had a really good time with it. It was just a good time for Star Trek fans to geek out about Star Wars a little bit, and it was great that we won 2-1.
Very nice.
Yeah. How about you?
Not this past weekend, but the weekend before, my wife and I went to Painting with a Twist, and it was my first time there. She'd been there a few times already, but we did like a blacklight painting. It was kind of cool.
Oh, that's pretty neat. Where's that at? Ross Park Mall?
The one we went to is in Greensburg.
Oh, in Greensburg. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Shah, how did you geek this week, buddy?
Let's see. I just started watching the live-action One Piece most recently. I'm up to episode 3, and I've started rewatching Naruto Shippuden because there's a whole bunch of episodes I've missed. So, I got the list for fillers episodes to skip, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Nice. So the live-action One Piece, is it better than the live-action Cowboy Bebop? I haven't watched it, but I've heard terrible things.
I only saw one episode of Cowboy Bebop, but I hear it's very, very bad. So far, I'm liking One Piece. I mean, I only remember it from a very, very long time ago, from the 4Kids dubs. I do have some issues, like the casting for Usopp is not a guy that should be cast, and they didn't give a prosthetic nose. It's supposed to have a long nose, but other than that, there's a lot of really good things about it.
Good. That's good to hear. I'm sure fans are happy, at least mostly happy, right?
Yep.
And, Chris, so 501st was there, right, at the Pirates game?
Yes, they were.
Okay. Yeah, I know we talked to them a little bit at the last Steel City Con. They seem like a pretty good group of guys.
Yes, absolutely. Any more thought about when or if you're going to join them?
When I have the money to put together a costume, that's
that and you need time too. You know, if it's a big commitment to get into a big Star Trek or Star Wars fan club. You know, so but I think it'd be really cool and kind of extra neat for us for the show, for me being in the Star Trek fan club and you in the Star Wars one. I think that'd be wonderful. You know,
we're gonna make it happen one of these days.
We have to.
Just not sure when.
Exactly.
All right, Mark, you're the last one up, man. How did you geek this week?
Well, other than of course watching the first three episodes of Ahsoka, not a lot. I was sick the last couple of days and been fighting a cold and some other things, so I haven't really done much. Although from hearing you talk, I just got to say, and I say this in all jest and love, but pirates suck. I'm a diehard. I can't say much. I'm a diehard Cardinals fan, and we have been horrible this year. So,
oh, that's a shame. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's fair. You know, at least we're division rivals, right?
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. That's actually, I do want to get out to PNC Park sometime. It looks like a beautiful stadium.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. The Pittsburgh skyline, when you see it from the seats, especially at night, can't be topped. It's wonderful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We actually had me and my wife had our first, my wife's a Cub fan, and we actually got to go to our first game at Wrigley.
Nice.
Which was it was a Cardinal Cubs game too, which made it even more cool.
I bet.
And yeah. Cubs won, so I guess that was good. That was good for her. But anyway, I didn't really do a lot of geek stuff other than watch Ahsoka, and that was about it.
Hey, that's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we've had 3 episodes in 2 weeks. And I don't know if you watched it more than once or
so far just once.
Okay.
Probably will watch the last episode again here pretty soon. Get ready for our show.
Yeah. Very nice.
We'll record. Yeah.
All right. So I know War of the Stars, you just released your reaction to the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka. But do you want to give us just a brief 1 or 2, minute summary of what you liked and tease everybody to go listen?
Yeah, just listen to the show. My mind kind of went blank there for a second. Sorry.
It's all right.
One thing I like about our show, and I can get into this more later on when I really talk about the show, is that me and my co-host Garrett, we don't always agree on everything. So you get a good back and forth banter between us, and there's stuff we liked. I liked the definitely, the character development and, kind of moving the story forward, and the fact that you kind of see where the story picks up at the end of Rebels and how it kind of ties into the start of Ahsoka. And I will say, just from what I've talked to with my co-host Garrett, this week is going to be interesting because looks like we have 2 completely different views on this week's episode.
Nice.
I'll just leave it at that. So it could be fun.
All right. I'm looking forward to it. I know it downloaded. It's in my queue. I will start listening tomorrow on my drive to work. So
awesome.
I'm excited. Chris, what did you think of the first couple episodes of Ahsoka? Did you get a chance to watch them yet?
I watched the first 2 episodes. I didn't get to watch episode 3 yet.
Okay.
So far, I think it's really good. I really love Star Wars Rebels, and I think it's a wonderful continuation of that series. Kind of see what's been going on with Ahsoka ever since the series ended, and Sabine kind of hiding in Ezra's old place, not really doing a whole lot. Then this whole thing with her being trained as a Jedi, that kind of came out of left field for me. But I'm looking forward to seeing how the show kind of plays out in that whole situation. But otherwise, I think it's really good. It was worth the wait, definitely.
Good. Yeah. I'm a fan. But I mean, listeners of the show know that I'm an Ahsoka fan, so I've been excited for this for quite a while. And there's some things I'm a little not sure of. How Anyway, I don't want to give up too much because I have seen episode 3, so it's all kind of leading together. But I thought the first 2 episodes were a good reintroduction to the characters. I loved that we got live action Ryder Azadi and Clancy Brown. That was I love that we got that.
Yes, that was a surprise, definitely.
I was not expecting that at all.
Playing the same character he voiced.
Right.
Yeah, I like when live action is able to do that. I know they're not always able to, but I do like when they're able to take the voice actor and put them in, play the same character live action, like with Bo-Katan.
Yes.
Yeah, being played by Katie Sackhoff. I mean, she nailed that role in The Mandalorian, so it's always cool when that happens.
Yeah. And Shah, I know you were chiming in there for a bit with Ryder Azadi and Clancy Brown. What were your thoughts on the episodes? The first 2, at least.
The first 2, okay. Well, I've seen all 3, but I'm enjoying it. I haven't actually seen all of Rebels, but I know enough of it to know all about Ahsoka and all that stuff. And I know what happens in the last episode, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm just really enjoying it. I'm curious about the Masks Inquisitor guy, about who he really is, because that seems like something we're going to find out later. And
we have some theories on War of the Stars. Who we think it is.
Yeah, there's a couple of options. I mean, Ezra, Maul, maybe Starkiller, which would be awesome.
Yeah, that's who we think it is. We think it's Starkiller, but
I believe episode 3 kind of ruins that theory, just because they do actually credit the voice for that character, and it's not Whitwer.
Sam, yeah.
Sometimes they'll do that, where they'll have someone else voice, and then him showing up later. I mean,
Anyway,
that happens.
Or it could just be a red herring.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, Disney likes they like to do that now. And then it's going to be this thing, and then it turns out to be something completely different, or even not an important character at all.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I wonder what we're going to get.
I don't know. Excited to see.
Chris, do you have any theories about who that could be? The masked Dark Jedi.
To be honest with you, no. I'm not as steeped into the lore of Star Wars as maybe you guys are, so I'm kind of at a loss exactly of who this might be. But as I'm looking to kind of start figuring some of that out as the series goes on, maybe I'll kind of pick up some hints and go from there. But I'd love to have a discussion with you guys during it this whole season, kind of see what comes true and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely break down episode by episode. I just wanted to talk about it really quick. And
oh yeah,
move the ship out of the asteroid field so that we can send a clear transmission.
Captain, incoming message.
Countess, I have the news.
Kind of move on to, I know we want to get to Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2, but Chris, were you able to find any Star Trek news for us before we jump into Strange New Worlds?
Well, I know that the Star Trek Picard Season 3 Blu-ray is supposed to be coming out, I believe it's next week, Tuesday the 5th. So
okay.
I think, so that's going to be coming out. I also read online that some of the Star Trek actors are trying to bring fans to Los Angeles and New York for Star Trek Day, which is September 8th, to help support them with the current strike.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw that on TrekMovie.com.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, there've been a lot of fans engaging in pickets. Strikes. So, fans, actors alike, everyone. It's interesting to see the level of support that they get. I mean, it's just not feasible for me to go to LA to even consider it. Even if I wanted to, a little far away from me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. Anything else? When do you remember the date Lower Decks Season 4 premieres?
Yes, September 7th.
Okay, perfect. So
can't wait.
Yes, I know.
We are going to be flush with content for a while, folks.
Definitely.
Yes.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. We haven't really even talked about Lower Decks much at all on the show. I mean, other than just briefly in passing, we never broke down an entire season. So I'm kind of looking forward to starting season 4, and then maybe we'll do like a retrospective series after that or something.
Absolutely, sounds like a blast.
And you guys are welcome to come on as well. So.
Cool.
So September 7th, we've got Star Trek Lower Decks Season 4. I'm looking forward to it. That, Ahsoka. We might still get Skeleton Crew this year. Who knows? It's going to be a good year for Star Trek and Star Wars fans.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
So
Don't get technical with me.
Logic is the beginning of wisdom, Valeris.
The Jedi use the Force for galactic defense.
all right. Well, let's jump right into talking about Strange New World Season 2, because that's really why we're all here. That's why I gathered this motley crew of podcast people to to join me. So, all right. We're going to start with episode 1 of Season 2. The episode title was The Broken Circle. This is the episode where the Enterprise receives the distress call from La'an. She compels Spock to disobey orders and from Starfleet and go assist her. They have to go to a planet that is a dilithium mine, but because of an agreement between the Klingons and Starfleet, they alternate every 30 days on this planet. So, and of course, it's when the Klingons are just starting the rotation too, so that the distress call comes. So, Shah, what did you think of the episode?
I enjoyed it. It was a good start. Like in the ridges on the forehead back for the Klingons and the hair. I mean, nobody likes the original Discovery Klingons. Yeah, I mean, it was a good start. We knew that we were pushing stuff to the side, waiting for the whole Una's stuff for the following episode, and yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, same. Chris, what did you think of the episode?
I liked it. It was a great start to the beginning of the season, and I loved how they started planting little seeds of what was going to happen during the rest of the season, such as Chapel trying to get this medical field. I don't even remember what it was called, but some sort of field medical expedition, something to that effect. And they started talking about Roger Corby, who will come up later on down the line. I agree that the having the Klingons back with their foreheads, that was really nice to see again. I agree the Discovery Klingons really weren't that great to look at, in my opinion, to be honest. But they just didn't look right, So at least they went and did that again. Spock was singing and drinking blood wine with them. Of course, that was a little bit of fun there. I just also the fact that they had that commandeered Federation ship and they were going to use it as a way to start to re-trigger the Federation Klingon War again was an interesting kind of storyline. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good, exciting start.
Yeah. You mentioned Spock and the blood wine. Did anyone else get any major Raiders of the Lost Ark vibes whenever La'an was there with the Klingon? Very much reminded me, at least, of when we meet Marion Ravenwood for the first time in Raiders.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't know. Maybe I guess. Am I the only person that noticed that?
I don't.
Apparently, I didn't even think about it until now.
I didn't either.
Okay, I watched the episode the other day, but I thought that the very first time I saw it too. So I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to take to Twitter and see if anyone else made that connection, because I don't know. Anyway, Mark, what were your thoughts on the episode?
Like you, I really enjoyed it. Although I will say, on a personal note, I think the episode we're going to talk about next, the Una episode, I think that should have been the season opener. I just think it would have tied in to keep that a little bit better. But I did like it. I'm a big fan of the different ships, and seeing the new design of the D7, I was in love. The classic D7's always been one of my favorite ships in Star Trek history. So seeing it, the new kind of new redesign of it looked really cool. I loved, again, Spock, singing with the Klingons. And all I have to say is to quote Worf when it comes to the Discovery Klingons, we do not speak about that. We do not speak of that.
Yes.
And on a personal note, for the next season of Strange New Worlds, I would love to see this the original series Klingons on screen at least once. No forehead ridged, smooth forehead Klingons. I would geek out for that so much.
Mm-hmm.
At least once, just to see that once, so that we know it is still canon. Please, I want it.
Would you be okay if it was just like a background character walking through the frame?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Because that might be the best we can hope for.
Or even seeing one of the, like someone like Kor show up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he would be around during this time period. So to see him show up, somewhere, or even see his name would be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed the episode. I liked, kind of the hints of what we'll get with Mbenga and Chapel and their background. That was kind of cool. So
I like how that ended up paying off.
Yes.
Obviously, there was that.
I'm like, he's got super soldier serum. What is this?
Yes.
Yeah, I like how that paid off. That was really cool. And then, of course, we get the payoff at the end with the Gorn attack ship. We see the what Admiral April Admiral April is staring at is that's the suspected Gorn attack ship, and then of course that pays off at the season finale. So I liked how we got little bits of where the season was going in that episode. Even though it's episodic, it still has some serialized threads running through the whole thing.
That's one thing I wanted to ask you guys about. Do you guys like the episodic tone of the series instead of having it serialized?
Chris, you're the biggest Trekkie of us all, so I'm interested to hear what you think.
Yeah, I personally do. I like it. Just reminds me of the shows watching the original series, Next Generation, all of them growing up, and just being able to say, okay, this week we got this one, and then next week we got something else to look forward to, something different. To kind of mix the story up throughout the season. Not that I hate the 10 episode arcs; they're fun too. But I like it. It's like a little mini little chapter of something every week that I just enjoy that.
And the fact that you can jump in if you can jump in if you just watch season 2, you can just watch season 2 and you're not going to be completely lost as to what's going on.
Yes.
There might be a few things you might kind of be like, oh, what's that about? Mm-hmm. But for the most part, you can jump right in and be like, oh, okay, this is what's going on.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you think, Shah? Are you a fan of more serialized or?
It kind of depends on the writing. I mean, I do prefer kind of a combination, serialized storytelling with little bits of continuity here and there that leads into things. Like back in the day with Doctor Who, like the first few seasons would have stuff that would kind of link to the final episode. So yeah, I mean, I like this season. I just would have liked a little more serialization, just like maybe 2 more mentions of the Gorn during the season. Other than that, I think that season 3 is probably, season 2 of Strange New Worlds is probably the best season with a caveat of Star Trek, because every single episode is good. There's nothing you're gonna pass, nothing you're gonna skip. Yeah, so yeah, excluding the cartoon because I haven't seen all the cartoons.
Yeah. I mean, Lower Decks is episodic for the most part. You have little references here and there in successful, in continuing episodes to things that happened prior. But, Prodigy was serialized pretty much. Well, no, it was episodic, mostly with serialized threads thrown in too, right, Chris?
Yes, it was.
And Mark, yeah. It was. Most of the episodes were standalone.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice to have episodic Trek back in a few forms. I think sometimes with the serialized, though, they always seem like such impossible stakes. Like they're always building to such impossible stakes, and then it's like the finale is always a letdown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, how many times can Discovery have saved the galaxy from utter destruction?
Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It just felt so same every season. Just felt the same. Just like faster, more intense, like George Lucas would say.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know. I want to like Discovery, and I'm meh on it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I enjoy it for what it is. It's but it definitely be in the bottom of my list if I was to rank my favorite Star Trek series.
I mean,
Discovery would be near the bottom for me. It's not that I hate it. I'm not one of those people that Discovery shouldn't be canon. If you watch or listen to my show any, I'm a huge hugely against anyone who said anything should be struck from canon, but I'm just kind of like meh, and not to get on a tangent, but for me, I think Discovery should have started in where it's at now.
Yes.
It should have started in the future, and that way you don't have to retcon everything and make all of these, weird things to make sure that, like, okay, why doesn't anyone talk about this special ship that had the ability to travel instantly anywhere in the galaxy?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we're not talking about Discovery.
Shah, what did you want to say?
Well, it does get better over time, and I do have a personal theory that both Discovery and Strange New Worlds are alternate timeline because of the time travel stuff that happened with season 2, the fact that that Michael Burnham is only alive because of time travel. So yeah, that's just my personal theory about those two series.
They keep insisting it's prime timeline, so I don't know.
Well, you know me.
Who knows?
You know me, Jonathan. I'm a big Canonista kind of person, so I agree with what Shah is saying. I have a hard time seeing how those two series align as prequels to the original series. I mean, they say it's prime, and it's prime. Okay, fine, but for me watching it for 35 years, I just don't see how they gel. In certain areas, yes. Certain areas, no.
I don't know. Well, we'll see, I guess. Only the writers will let us know.
Pretty much.
Never underestimate the power of the writers' room. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so we did get off on a real big, wide tangent there. So let's try to reel it back in here. I think we've said all that we can say about episode 1. So we're going to move on to the next one. And Mark, you were talking a little bit about this earlier. That was so episode 2 is the episode called Ad Astra Per Aspera. This is the courtroom drama episode with Commander Una Chin Riley, or number 1. She's facing her court-martial, possible imprisonment, and dishonorable discharge from Starfleet due to her genetic, modifications that were done at birth and that she had no control over.
Right.
But anyway, Mark, we'll start with you. I know you have some thoughts.
Yeah, I thought it was a good episode. I mean, I thought it was Star Trek has a long history of doing these sort of courtroom style episodes like this. Measure of a Man, the Menageries Part 1 and 2. I thought it was really well done, and it was good to see a little bit of more background of the Una character for me, and yeah, I just thought it was an overall a good episode, and I enjoyed it.
All right, Chris, what are your thoughts?
I really enjoyed it too. I always enjoy the courtroom episodes that Star Trek has, like what was just said, The Measure of a Man, The Menagerie Part 1 and 2. You had Arthur during Voyager's 7th season. There's the 4th season episode. I can't remember the name of it, but it's where Worf is accused of destroying a Klingon civilian ship.
Yes.
That was a really good one. But the one that it reminded me the most of was the original series from the first season, Court Martial. Even down to where the defense attorney was actually given a book, an actual real book by La'an. It was about some sort of Starfleet rules or protocol. The character in Court Martial, Samuel Cogley, loved books. He hated computers. So I thought that was actually a pretty cool kind of nod to that. Also, just getting to know a little bit more about the Illyrians, I thought was really interesting as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's always cool when Star Trek kind of introduces you to a new race.
Yes,
and you kind of get to know a little bit about that new race and what makes them, special and unique. And it's always. Yeah.
I definitely want to give kudos to the young actress who played the defense attorney. She nailed that role.
Oh, that was really good.
Yeah, with her intensity and the way she was questioning Admiral April about him breaking the Prime Directive. She nailed that part. It was just excellent. I'm not sure what her name was, but kudos to her.
Yeah, what'd you think, Shah?
I enjoyed it. I mean, I was rather engaged through the entire thing. I do like the courtroom stuff every now and then. I like the background on Una and where she's from and all that, and it was just really good.
Yeah, you guys, it's a classic Star Trek storytelling device with the courtroom drama. It's every series has had some form of it, sometimes multiple episodes. So I thought it was very well done. I was a little lukewarm on it the first time I watched it, but I enjoyed it a lot more when I rewatched the show. Yeah, it definitely plays better the second time around. So at least for me, it did. Chris, anything, any like cool canon connections that you noticed?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So they did a really good job recreating and redesigning the courtroom, the uniforms, the dress uniforms. Did a really nice job with that. The bell that they were using in the courtroom scene, it was the same as it was in the Menagerie, in Court Martial, and in Space Seed. I don't know if it was in any other episodes, but a few of them.
I don't know if you guys know. You probably noticed this because you seem like the big canon. That the courtroom scene was also the main headquarters scene for Discovery. When they're all meeting to discuss what to do with the new planet destroying wet thing that's out there. That's the same building. They just redesigned it into the courtroom for Strange New Worlds. It's the same exact set.
Oh,
yeah, it seems that.
Well, okay, I didn't know that. That's
wow,
neat.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool that they saved that and were able to
that's
repurpose
kind of it. That's definitely a Star Trek thing that they do, is just taking old sets, slapping a new painted coat on them, turning a couple things around to different directions, and reusing the same set over and over again. Yeah.
Yep.
There was one other little thing that I saw in the courtroom that I thought was really cool. If you notice, when they're on the stand, they have their hand on a glowing disc on their chair. That is also from the original series. They put their hand there, and the computer would read their service records, things of that nature, and would also be able to detect if they were lying or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I didn't notice that. That's good eye, Chris. Wow. But I mean, I should expect nothing less, honestly, right?
I'm too geeky when it comes to Trek, man. Way too geeky.
All right. Any other thoughts on episode 2?
I think it was a good one.
Yeah. I'm like I said, I really came around on it the second time. So, all right. So we'll move on to the next episode. This one's a bit of a heartbreaker, huh? So This is episode 3, the episode titled Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. La'an is sent back in time to the 21st century Earth along with Captain James Kirk to prevent an attack which will alter the future of humanity. Some intrigue, some like mystery solving, and some romance, right? It's a pretty interesting, pretty solid episode, I thought. You feel bad for La'an. After all of it, but all right, Chris, we'll start with you. What were your thoughts on this one?
Overall, I thought it was a pretty solid episode. I like the whole time travel approach to it. It definitely reminded me of several other episodes from Star Trek's history. It shows also how La'an and Kirk, even though this was an alternate Kirk, that those two are going to have some sort of chemistry together, which we end up seeing later on in the season. I thought it was interesting, too, that the temporal Cold Wars were still being apparently fought, because I know in 4th season of Enterprise, they were supposed to have been concluded at the end of Stormfront Part 2. But I don't know. Either besides that. But the episode itself was it was entertaining. I don't like the fact that they moved the eugenics wars up, because now it's going to be really hard. Like if you try to put the saga, the series together, they're saying that it happened in it's going to be the 2050s now, when it was supposed to be in the 1990s. But yet you're going to watch the original series and they're going to say, well, it was in the 1990s. And then in Star Trek 2, you're going to have Khan himself, the Augment, saying that he launched from Earth in the year 1996. So it doesn't, that irritates me. I think they could have easily solved that by saying, you know what, the eugenics wars happened, but they were behind the scenes, like in Greg Cox's trilogy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But other than that, I thought it was a good episode, though, other than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know they've taken liberties with the canon before, but that's a pretty liberal amount of liberty, right?
Quite a lot of liberty.
Yeah.
That they said it's all
60 years?
I think that's on purpose, though, that they're having plans for it, because, they mentioned, because it all was started because of Picard season 3, because the time travel that happened there. So I think they have plans for that. They're going to probably do something with the eugenic wars later, because we haven't actually seen it on screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. It really is. I'm sure. I mean, Akiva Goldsman seems to have a real excitement for Khan and Ian Singh and his lineage and that whole story arc. So I'm sure there'll be something down the pike.
Yeah. All right, Mark, what were your thoughts on this one?
I really enjoyed this episode. I like you guys said, I like the time travel. I like the fact that, they didn't time travel to the same place they always do. I like the fact that, instead of going to New York or Los Angeles or San Francisco, they went to Toronto, of all places. It was very cool.
Yes.
It was also I think it was also might have been like a little bit of an inside joke, because it seemed
for sure.
Like back in the day, anytime they wanted to stand in for New York City that wasn't as dirty as New York, they'd always shoot in Toronto. So that might have just been a nice little in. Again, being the Starship geek that I am, it was cool seeing the bird of prey, the old the Romulan style bird of prey, the little picture of it. And the fact that you can still keep the canon that no one actually knows what a Romulan looks like, even though they've seen a Romulan, because she was in disguise as a human. So you still have that kind of in the going on with it. But a good episode. Like the little romance between the two, and the fact that, even though you had that romance, it's kind of that there's nothing that will ever come of that, or it seems like it won't ever come of that. So you feel sorry for Loanne, or I can never pronounce her name.
La'an, I think, is how they usually.
La'an.
La'an. And her meeting her ancestor, or the person who will be one of her ancestors, and coming face to face and knowing what he will do and what he will become, and knowing that he despite what he will do, he still has to she still has to let him live, because that has to happen.
Right. Shah.
Yeah. I enjoyed the episode. I mean, I'm a big fan of time travel and alternate timelines and stuff like that. That's kind of how I got into science fiction, you know. So yeah, I mean, I liked it. It was a lot of great character work with Leon and all that. And it's always nice seeing Paul Wesley as Kurt. That's always good. And yeah, I mean, interesting seeing all the twists and turns. I'm trying to remember what the Romulan reporter lady, who the actress was, because I remember like she was someone I knew from something, but I can't remember. But yeah, all in all, it was good.
Yeah, I thought it was a good episode. Like I said, you have everything that happens between Kirk and La'an, and then she can't ever tell him. Well, she's not supposed to tell him, of course, anything that happened, because that was never supposed to happen. That trip back in time. But yeah, you feel really bad for her. I did like how it was the Romulan that said that that mentioned the temporal Cold War, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I thought that was a fun little nod to Enterprise.
Yeah, and it's not the first one of the season, the last one of the season either. That we'll find out here.
I don't remember which episode the other reference was.
Oh, it's coming up in the crossover from Lower Decks.
Oh, got it. Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
They should totally do more with that.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Agreed.
They just close the door on it during Enterprise. They need to do more of that. Especially with all the time travel in the more recent shows, they definitely should do more of it.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. It was a good episode. Anybody have any other thoughts about this one?
Oh yeah, I just looked it up. It was Elaine Kane playing the Romulan reporter lady. She was in Power Rangers. She was in Teen Wolf, and she's been in other stuff.
Okay. I didn't see any of those two shows that you mentioned, but I'll have to look at the rest of her credits and see if I recognize her from anywhere else. Chris, any final thoughts on this one?
No, I thought overall it was really solid and it was entertaining, and I love that. Again, the whole thing with the Lon Kirk arc, how that's going to be developing, and how she actually contacted the real Kirk at the end of the episode to start getting that together. It was solid, definitely.
All right, let's move on to episode 4, and that is Among the Lotus Eaters. So this is the one where the Enterprise crew returns. They go to a planet that dredges up tragic memories. Pike and the landing party find themselves forgetting everything, including their own identities, as he confronts a ghost from his past.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mark, why don't you kick this one off?
I really enjoyed this one. I like the callback to the cage. I like that. I like the just bringing back, a planet that was been mentioned in the original series, and then, like I said, the cage, bringing it to life. It was just a really good episode, and I think it really stretched the acting ability, the ability of the actors, quite a bit.
Yeah, it's always fun when the actors get to play different versions of their characters, or just play completely off type because of some crazy atmospheric disturbance or subspace wave. It's always fun to see episodes like this.
Now, one thing I was kind of disappointed in is I know that I cannot think of the character's name. I know I should hand in my Trek card. The pilot.
Ortegas.
I know that we were told they were promised an Ortegas episode, and this seemed like it was going to be the Ortegas episode this episode, but all we got was, my name is Ortegas, and I fly the ship. So I was a little disappointed that we didn't get an episode this season that focused on Ortegas. I was hoping for it, and a little disappointed, but I still liked her arc, a little bit of her arc in this series. And just seeing the crew kind of out of their element and trying to figure out what is going on and how to fix this.
All right. We're just going to go in order. Shah, why don't you give me your thoughts?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I mean, got a little bit of focus on Ortegas, not a lot. one of those science fiction things of altering things a little bit, but keeping the main characters to like do the kind of things, or having them forget who they were, but still being who they are. That I really liked. And yeah, I mean, it was just really good. It was a mystery of why and how and who and all that. And yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. Chris, what were your thoughts, man?
I really enjoyed this one. It actually felt like a TOS episode, in my opinion. Classic one where you had the captain and some of the landing party on the planet while the Enterprise is off trying to deal with something else in space. That was a nice little nod to that. Yeah. I also love that they actually developed the Kalar, because all in the cage they were just a bunch of brutes is really all they were. Now we get to see what's going on about the kind of caste system that's going on, where you got the ones who are the workers out in the community, and they're allowed to be able to forget their memories and who they are, but the people inside the castle, they get to keep theirs, and they have they're protected by that whatever ore is in the palace. So that was really interesting. It kind of reminded me of the caste system that went on in an episode of the original series called The Cloudminders, where you had the Stratos city dwellers up in Stratos, the city, but they have the troglodytes down below in these mines that are full of gas that are causing their intelligence to be slowed down and minimized. And by the end of the episode, they kind of come together. And that's kind of what Pike kind of did in this episode as well, when he had that asteroid removed, so that way there was no more contamination from the asteroid for the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the writers obviously know exactly what they're doing when they make callbacks like this. They write an original episode with callbacks to so much from Trek history, and it's if you have been a fan for years and years, and you've seen everything, you really appreciate those little nods and those little references.
Yes,
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic episode. I love how we're getting, so much more, incredible content for Captain Pike, who never ever got his run until Strange New Worlds. He never got to live on, because of the pilot or the show went a different direction. All right. The next one, it was a fun episode. So a shuttle accident leads to Spock's Vulcan DNA completely being removed from him by aliens because they thought they were fixing him, so it made him fully human and completely unprepared to have the ceremony where he with T'Pring and her family. Hilarity ensues while the crew tries to help Spock, be Vulcan. All right, we'll start with Chris. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this one.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay, so as a standalone episode of Strange New Worlds, I thought it was really interesting. We got to kind of see more of the Vulcan marriage rituals that come to play. I like the fact that we saw Chapel starting to prep for her 2-month fellowship through the Vulcan Science Academy, and more foreshadowing of what's coming. It was great seeing Ethan Peck being able to kind of just play a human and be himself. And then he had to have the human characters actually trying to teach him how to be Vulcan again, to try to hide the fact that he has what the mother-in-law would think is some sort of deformity or something like that. So and I also love the part with Amanda kind of talking about her memory of Spock and how she saw him actually being accepted by his peers, because for a long period of time that didn't happen. And apparently she picked that memory because she remembered what it felt like being kind of shunned by the Vulcan mothers because she was human. So that was really cool. Yeah. The only thing that really about this whole T'Pring arc is, again, with the whole canon thing. So from when I watched Amok Time in the original series, it was pretty established that Spock and T'Pring hadn't really seen each other since they were children. And even when T'Pring comes on the view screen, it near the end of the episode, Uhura even asks Spock, "Who is she's lovely, but who is she?" So I watched that, and now and the Vulcan mating rituals were very secretive. Nobody talked about that. But in Strange New Worlds, Spock's flaunting to Pring around like, nobody's business. This is my girlfriend, everybody. I'm marrying this girl. It's not secretive. And so that kind of pulls me out of the story a little bit. So maybe that's like the downside of me having so much experience with the saga, because I'm seeing those little discrepancies and it kind of pulls me out of stuff. But as an episode itself in Strange New Worlds, I thought it was great. It fit everything that's been going on since the pilot.
Yeah. I had a feeling you were going to bring that up as far as, because they did not see each other since they were children. It was an arranged marriage from the start.
Yes.
And it's I'm interested to see where they're going to take it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But I will never say no to seeing more of Amanda Grayson. I love Mia Kirshner's portrayal of the character. Yeah. She's a phenomenal actress, and she brings so much to the role of Amanda Grayson, so much more than we've ever seen in past iterations.
Yes.
Because she was last in Discovery whenever we meet Ethan Peck's Spock for the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first time she was in Strange New Worlds, correct?
I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I got it straight. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss her anywhere else. I love her portrayal. That's one of the things from Discovery I truly enjoy. Shah, what were your thoughts?
Well, speaking of Amanda, actually, this is the first time I actually liked the character. I've never really cared much about the character prior. Not to hate her or anything, just to never given much thought to her. But this made me actually like the character. I mean, it was one of those nice hijinks type of thing where characters are swap minds and all that. And yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right, Mark, your thoughts?
Honestly, I love this episode. Like Chris said, as a standalone episode, it was really good. I thought this felt like one of the most TOS episodes of the season. Just the way it was set up, the humor of it, the way the humor was kind of bounced over more serious topics. My favorite scene was Kirk having to be held back, yelling at George Kirk, saying, "I'll break you, Kirk." That literally made me, if I'd have been drinking something, I would have done a spit take there. That made me literally laugh out loud. It was just a fun episode. And that's one thing I like about you. You've had a couple of very serious episodes back to back, 3 very serious episodes. And you have this kind of, let's just kind of lighten the mood a little bit. Let's kind of, bring a little levity to it, to the show. So it was really good. Again, like you said, seeing Ethan Peck being able to really flaunt, expand his horizons and be himself. I loved the dad. That was the most emotional Vulcan I've ever seen. I'm sorry, but the whole thing where they're Pike is making the dishes and he's eating. It's like, oh, this is delicious, and the mom says it's not traditional. Oh yes, I noticed that it is not traditional. I did not notice that before. Okay, I mean, just how henpecked he is, and just it was just great. I loved the acting was superb in it. I hated the mom, to Pring's mom, which I know you were supposed to do that. So
yeah,
it was really, really good. I really this was one of my favorite episodes of the season. Not my favorite, but one of my favorites of the season.
Could you imagine having that woman as your mother-in-law?
Oh, yeah. Oh, heck no. Oh, no. No.
Heck no.
Oh.
They ended up not getting married, right?
Yeah. Right.
TOS, correct? Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I believe, didn't Spock and Chapel end up getting together at the end of this episode?
Yes.
Yes.
That's a whole other canon thing. I won't get into that spiel, but yeah.
I think you and I talked about that a little bit at Steel City Con with that one vendor, didn't we?
Yes.
They always had a thing in TOS,
there's always sort of a tension between them.
Yeah. There was the way I always took it is that Chapel had a major crush on Spock from afar, and he was completely oblivious to it. There was even kind of in a line about in Plato's Stepchildren in the third season about how she kind of always she always cared about Spock and wanted to show that to him, and I guess it wasn't possible. So, yeah, that's about it. But I mean, Ethan Peck and what's her name, Jess Bush, they have good chemistry together. There's no denying it.
Oh yeah,
in the show they fit perfectly.
Yeah. Did the internet give them a couple name?
Not yet. I don't think they have. I don't think they have a ship name yet.
I'm surprised.
That's a good point.
The internet is usually on it before it even happens.
Spock Chapel, maybe.
Spockle.
Spockle.
That's a good one.
Sounds like something I put on the wall.
Or chalk.
Chalk.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, chalk is probably better.
Yeah.
Easier to remember.
Yeah, for sure. Spockle? Yeah, no. All right. I think we'll move on that note. So the official ship title is Chalk. All right.
Sounds good.
You heard it here first. Maybe. I don't know. Episode 6 is called Lost in Translation. Uhura seems to be the only one who can hear a strange sound that seems to trigger some terrifying hallucinations among the crew. So, who wants to kick this one off?
Good horror Star Trek.
Yes. I think possibly the most horrific episode since that early one in Discovery with the tardigrade, like making bloody mess of everybody.
Yeah, that was. Although I will say the episode last season with the Gorn was pretty terrifying too.
True, and this season's finale is pretty intense as well.
Yeah, but this one was more like just the psychological terror of it.
Right. A little less, Yeah,
it was a good, and it's always good seeing an Uhura-centric episode like this. Letting her shine. I like this actress's. I cannot remember her name, but her take on Uhura.
Celia Rose Gooding.
Yeah. I like her take on Uhura, and I mean, huge shoes to fill. I mean, taking over from a TV legend is just, I couldn't imagine filling those shoes like that.
Right.
Yeah,
that, I mean, imagine being cast in that role. Like, you are the second actress to play this character, and
the
third. Yeah.
Third.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I'm sorry. I forgot the Kelvin movies. I'm not even in Trek TV.
Okay.
The second actress to play her in Trek TV. So it's and to fill those shoes. She's doing a phenomenal job. Shah, what are your thoughts?
I enjoyed it. I mean, it was an interesting mystery, and I personally like mysteries, and a lot of character work for Uhura, and the actress did a very well job, and it was just a good episode.
Yeah, and to think a few episodes later, we get we get to we'll get to see the musical talents of Uhura, which was always a big part of canon as well.
Which we knew about because season 1 of Strange New Worlds, they did have an episode of her showing off some music stuff.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, but Uhura was always, she was constantly featured playing music or singing on the original series. So it's good to see that tradition continue.
I did like that they quickly, put, what would become the relationship between Jim Kirk and Uhura right off the bat when he, she pretty much shut him down. Like, hey, I'm not, into what you're putting out. And so they kind of get that, like, you get that dynamic pretty soon that they respect each other. It's definitely there's a friendship, but there's definitely a professional relationship there. There's nothing that they didn't try to force some sort of romantic or some sort of tryst between the two. I like that they kind of kept that like, all right, these two are, yes, Kirk has a reputation, but he's also an officer in Starfleet, and there's, that they didn't go down that road, because they could have easily done that.
Yeah. Their relationship is strictly business.
There's still a friendship there, and there's still a camaraderie there that I think you can see starting to build. Which will lead to their relationship in the original series, but there's definitely that respect aspect there.
Yeah, Kirk is not typically someone who is said no to, so I think that immediately earned his respect.
I love the fact that even though this was definitely a Kirk, or not a Kirk, but a Uhura centric episode, I like seeing the relationship between George and Jim, the two Kirk brothers, and that sort of you get Kirk as the golden child, the fast track to youngest first officer in the history of Starfleet. As we know, he'll become the youngest captain in the history of Starfleet, and George is kind of happy where he's at, and Jim not being able to kind of understand, like, how can you not have any desire to want to get to the rank and be a captain or whatever, and that kind of, I like that kind of relationship and that kind of tension between those two.
The actual armed forces in the United States, you have servicemen who and women who never have aspirations to be higher ranking, like generals and such. They just want to do the job that they enjoy doing, and not get into the politics of leadership in the military. So it very much parallels our world.
Definitely.
All right, Chris, I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this Uhura-centric episode.
This was a really good episode, and we finally, for the first time, got some true backstory about Uhura. She never really got expanded on in any of the original series or in the movies. I mean, we actually find out what happened to her parents, and that she had a brother, and that the three of them died in a shuttle accident, and that she wasn't there, and she never actually got to see the wreckage of what happened, but she had created a memory in her own brain of what had actually happened. So, I mean, just that nice little nugget there is something new and refreshing to hear about the character. Also, it was definitely a very Star Trek themed episode, where you have this base where they're trying to refine deuterium, and it turns out that they're actually killing or seriously harming another race that they didn't know about. And even Pike makes a comment about that, about how the station is meant to be mining this deuterium so they could go out and explore space, and here what they're doing is they're actually destroying new life that they're finding. I thought that was really powerful, and it harkens back to some other episodes throughout the saga, like the first season of Next Generation Home Soil and the fourth season of Next Generation Galaxy's Child, where they were destroying life, or they actually killed a space creature by accident. So I thought that was really good. We got to see Pike become fleet captain for a tiny little bit, which tied in nicely to the menagerie, because that's when Kirk said he met Pike for the first time. So they actually brought that into play. We got to hear a little bit more about their father and how he was actually became first officer on the USS Kelvin. The only thing I didn't really like about it is I thought that there would be more. They hyped up the meeting of Uhura introducing Kirk to Spock, but it kind of just like happened last second at the very end of the episode and didn't really get much beyond a handshake, in my opinion. So I thought they could have built on that a little bit more and had a nice big scene, but it just wasn't meant to be, I guess. But overall, I thought it was a really interesting episode.
Yeah, it was a really fantastic episode. And I mean, thinking back to the first season of TOS, the first episode where, an alien race was being harmed, or perceived harm, you had the Devil in the Dark, where you had the mining colony that were being attacked by the creature who is just trying to protect her kids. That's right?
Horta.
Yes, the Horta.
The Horta, yes. I couldn't remember the creature's name, but yes. it's a classic Trek storytelling,
Yes, it is.
episode. So yeah, it's this one ranks up there with the best of them, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts on this one before we move on?
No,
I can't think of anything.
Okay. Shah, anything?
All good.
All right. I think this is one that we are all looking forward to talking a lot about. And that's episode 7 is Those Old Scientists, otherwise known as the Lower Decks crossover episode.
Yes.
TOS.
Yes, TOS. Perfect. What? I didn't even notice that. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
They even make a joke about that. It's like, what do you keep calling it TOS? Okay.
Yes.
It's like, oh yeah, it's Those Old Scientists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I must have missed that one. So an accident while investigating a time portal sends Beckett Mariner and Brad Boimler through a time portal to from the 24th century to the 22nd century, where Captain Pike and the crew must try to get them back into their own time before they completely and utterly destroy the Strange New Worlds timeline. So, yeah, this one was played like the perfect, mashup of Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds, and it played into the strengths of both shows phenomenally. Just, personally, I enjoyed, just all of the all the comments that Pike and crew made about the way that Boimler and Mariner talk to each other, and just that they're the way that they speak, and they speak in references, and right. It was just just that dynamic, some finding a way to point out what is clearly a classic style of animated comedy, a very frenetic way of speaking and kind of a language all its own. Chris, let's hear what you had to say.
All right. This was a really fun episode. I was a little nervous about if they were going to be able to pull it off, but Jack Quaid and the lady who plays Mariner, I can't remember her name. Tawny Newsome. That's it. Tawny Newsome. I think they nailed their roles in live action. It really felt like they were coming out of the cartoon, and you could see how much fun they were having during the entire episode, just making it. They had a blast. I love the fact that they had the portal and how they tied it in with the Orions. It was nice to see the Orions doing something different besides just being slaves and, bullies in the galaxy. So that was fun. I don't know about you guys, but at one point I finally wanted to punch Boimler in the face because he kept saying, I don't want to screw up the timeline. But he's acting like a fool and can't control himself. I was kind of saying to myself, La'an, will you please just take that guy and just lock him in his quarters somewhere? If he's clearly not stable enough with it because he keeps talking about it, But so that it was good for the episode, but it was driving me crazy.
It's just incredible how Jack Quaid just was able to embody Boimler, because it's a lot different, trying to portray an animated character and the mannerisms that an animated character can, because the medium of animation can do so much more. It was interesting to see him personify Boimler so perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And of course, getting them to we all have our celebrity crushes or our celebrity interests, and to meet, for them to meet theirs, that's a pretty powerful thing, So I thought that was good as well. I'm trying to think of what else, if there was anything else about the episode.
I love how Boimler thought he broke Spock.
Oh, yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Oh, and this was the episode where a big thing of Enterprise was brought up. So apparently it became a Starfleet tradition that each subsequent ship with a certain name had a little piece of material from the original ship actually put into theirs. And that's actually how they were able to reactivate the portal and send Boimler and Mariner back to the 24th century. They had a piece of whatever it was from NX-01 Enterprise. And they were talking a lot about Captain Archer, and we learned that how much Hoshi was admired by Uhura. And it was so nice to finally see Enterprise getting a little bit of respect that it never got.
Right?
You know,
That's
it's
right.
like it's about time here.
That's right.
You know, so that was wonderful. I thought it was a good episode. They managed to do it really well. 2 thumbs up, definitely.
All right, Shaw, let's hear from you, man.
I really, really liked it. I mean, speaking of Jack Quaid, since this episode was directed by Jonathan Frakes, that scene where he sits on the saddle and goes, Riker, that was he made that on the spot, which is really cool.
Yes, that was a great line.
Like this is the one episode this season I actually saw twice. But I actually rewatched it. Like it was just that good. I mean, I only have some information. I only seen a couple of episodes of Lower Decks, so I have a little bit of knowledge of the characters. But yeah, it was just really good, really funny, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah, this one was a lot of fun. I didn't get a chance to revisit this one before the show, but it's I think I'm going to jump around a little bit and watch the final 4 episodes before I go back and rewatch episodes 4 and 5. I think that's or 4, 5, and 6 rather. I just want to see how, because you had some tonal shifts in between every episode. You had your comedic episode, your crossover episode, then you had a serious episode, then you have the musical episode, and then you have another very serious, very high stakes episode. I want to see how those 4 play together back to back to back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, Mark, you were the last one this round to give us your thoughts. So, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I adore Lower Decks. Just adore. Like, this is part of the new Star Trek stuff that's come out. Stranger Worlds is probably my favorite, but I adore Lower Decks. I think it's so great. So seeing these characters in live action was great. Hearing the Boimler scream when they're him and Spock are trying to. Saying that in live action was great. My wife didn't. I watched this with my wife, and I think Lower Decks is definitely one of those shows that you have to have a certain sense of humor to get.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't get that sense of humor, then you're just going to be like, "Oh, this." And she thought it was kind of silly and kind of stupid, but I loved it. Anytime you see Spock smile, it's somewhat disconcerting.
Yes, very much so.
It is very.
It's not supposed to happen.
The fact that you see him smile more than once, and I think it was also neat the fact that Una was the reason that he got into Starfleet. Seeing the poster of her. The Starfleet recruitment, that she would become the face of Starfleet recruitment. I thought that was kind of cool too. So overall, I love this episode.
Yeah, especially given what almost happened to her at the start of the season.
Yes, I know exactly.
Yeah. So it was a nice payoff.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Any final thoughts on this one?
Nope.
All good.
Okay. All right. So we are moving on to episode 8, Under the Cloak of War. Pike and the crew welcome aboard a Klingon defector to the Enterprise, but his presence on the ship triggers the revelation of some very shocking secrets for Nurse Chapel and Dr. Mbenga. So this one was a very heavy, it's a very tense episode from the start, and of course, this is one of the payoff moments from the season premiere. We get a little tease of that in episode 1, and now here we are front and center with that conflict. So, Mark, what were your thoughts on this one?
I thought this was a really, really good episode. I like the fact that, as the show goes on, there's, not a lot of real cut. It's a very, in a lot of ways, it was a very gray episode when it came to who the good guys were, who the bad guys were, what everyone's motivations were, and, seeing the backstory, the backstory of M'Benga, finding out that he was basically special forces, right? Kind of cool. Yeah, it was just kind of cool. And then seeing, and seeing the difference between those who were in the war. Because if you remember from Discovery Season 2, they make it very clear the Enterprise was not involved in the Klingon War.
Mm-hmm.
It was out somewhere else. So seeing those members of the crew who were involved in the war and how they react to seeing this Klingon general who had this reputation on the ship, compared to those who weren't. The acting was just, M'Benga, basically just almost breaking the table, squeezing that chair, that table so hard that we thought it was going to break, and then him going into his his office and just losing it. I thought it was just so powerful.
Yeah, you don't typically see that level of performance from him. He's normally so even keeled, and it was good to see him show so much emotion.
Yeah, that was really, really good. And the fact that you have this, this whole idea, you can get into the debate between what's his Roddenberry's view of humanity, what humanity would be, and more realistic, where humans by this point were supposed to evolve to get petty, but to see them have that level of hate, like you can tell M'Benga in some way hates the Klingons because of what they did, and him trying to come to terms with that, and what does that mean? And in many ways, he doesn't. He kills the general.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one thing that confused me, because was that self-defense, or how did that work? Because
it was left ambiguous.
Yes. I thought it was left very, very ambiguous as to what happened. But I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. It was definitely. It was nice to have a very light episode previously, but to prepare for this one, because it definitely, you needed that. You needed something. You needed the levity of those old scientists to really, really prepare you for this one, because this one took a lot. I liked it, but it's definitely not something that you can watch over and over again.
Yeah.
All right, Shah, what did you think of this one?
I liked it. I think that they could have done a little bit more with it, with like Ortega's and her stuff, but all in all, it was good. I do like that they left the ending ambiguous, whether he killed them on purpose or not, or whether it was true or not, because you could see either way, where it could have been just a mistake, or he did have that knife out. It could have been premeditative, and you probably couldn't blame him for that. I liked it. It was really good. I like it. Nice and ambiguous. I like it.
Yeah. Chris, why don't you tell us your thoughts on this one?
I thought it was a pretty decent episode. It was interesting to learn more about Chapel and M'Benga, about what they had gone through during the Klingon War. I also thought it was interesting that this ambassador was actually taking credit for the Klingon soldiers. I believe it was M'Benga who actually ended up killing them, but he is well known for killing his own brutality. Kind of led to him killing off his own troops, and that ended up not being true. I agree that we could have gotten more about Ortega's background. I think really overall this season she's been severely underused, beyond just saying I fly the ship and I'm good at it, basically. So I wish they would have done more there. I also like the ending of it being ambiguous as well. That also is not the first time they did that in Star Trek. In third season, Next Generation, The Most Toys, after Kivas Vajo, he kills his female lieutenant, and when they're beaming data back to the Enterprise, there's a weapons discharge. But when he comes on board the ship. Riker asks him about it, and Data kind of leaves it as, did I or didn't I kind of situation. That might have just been an error that was going on, but it was left ambiguous for all of us to kind of figure out, did he actually do it? So I thought overall it was a pretty good episode. Definitely a lot darker than the previous episode, and then what we're going back into coming up in the next one.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Oh, Mark, were you going to say something?
Oh, no. I was just
okay.
kind of agreeing with you guys.
Yeah. Very, very, very powerful episode. And yeah, I echo everything about it being ambiguous because it gives us something to debate, something to talk about. Was it done? And everybody's that watching is gonna have an opinion. Whether it was done with malice, with intent, or truly accidental. Good episode. I want to watch it again to see what, see if I can pick up on anything else that I missed the first time. Let's move on to episode 9, Subspace Rhapsody, the long-promised musical episode of Strange New Worlds. An accident with an experimental quantum probability field causes everyone on the Enterprise to break uncontrollably into song and share their innermost thoughts and feelings. But it is unfortunately the field is expanding, and it's a race against time to basically prevent another potential war and just far-reaching damage of this field. And it's. I was interested to see how they were going to explain this in Trek terms, and I mean, you had to figure it was going to be some sort of anomaly. I mean, what else would it be? But I thought it was clever. And then, of course, the eventual solution is uncovered by our Uhura. And yet another classic, another character building episode for Uhura. Chris, why don't you start us off here?
All right. When I first heard this episode being announced, I was like, oh no, this is going to be the low moment of all Star Trek, and it's going to be the jump the shark moment for Strange New Worlds. I was very, very impressed with the episode overall. I was afraid that they were just going to sing through the whole episode, no reason, no explanation. But they actually, you can tell the writers really sat down and came up with something that made it plausible, something that made sense and was Star Trek, in nature. And I thought it was excellent, the way it all played out, the way how they all figured out what they needed to do to actually, overcome this situation. And the reality was they didn't want to sing. The ironic part, we all wanted them to sing and have fun, but as the characters themselves, they were like, we don't want to do this. We don't want to share our feelings like this. I mean, heck, you think Pike wanted to actually fight with his girlfriend on the bridge in front of everybody in song? I mean,
probably not.
Probably not. No. That's a little embarrassing, But I think they did a really good job with it. The songs that they developed for it were really a lot of fun. I actually had it playing for my clients in my office at my private practice. And they actually were getting into it. They were actually coming on and they were watching it. They're like, "Oh, this is really interesting." So it was a lot. It was good. It was interesting. Trying to think what else. Yeah, I think that's about it. I felt bad for Spock. I mean, he was like publicly dumped in front of everybody in song, and she seemed to be relishing it. I'm dumping you. I'm going on this archaeological thing, It was like, poor Spock. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. It really was.
Yeah. All right. Chris, your favorite song from the soundtrack?
Oh, boy. I would say it was probably the very first song. I can't remember the name, but the first song that they started singing.
Why Are We Singing?
Is that? Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes. Is that really what it's called?
I think that's what it's called. Why Are We Singing?
Oh, well, that makes it nice and easy. That one was my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Shah, your thoughts on this one?
I really liked it. I mean, when they announced that was happening, I was optimistic about it since we know that Uhura sing. The actress that plays Leon has a music career currently. I'm pretty sure I remember something about Anson Mance, the actor that plays Pike, doing something musical. So I was, looking forward to it. It was pretty good episode. I mean, the music wasn't anything I would save on a playlist, but it wasn't anything I would actually skip. So I mean, there were some musical episodes of shows that definitely have songs that are skippable, and you had the story continuing for each character and stuff with Leon and Kurt was really good, and yeah, all in all, just a really good episode.
All right. Did you have any songs that stood out to you or were your favorite?
Nothing I can remember off the top of my head, but I mean, like I said, there's nothing that's skippable. They're all things you listen to, but nothing skippable.
All right. Mark, I'm curious here on your thoughts on this one.
Well, I, like Chris, was very apprehensive, but I was very pleasantly surprised about this episode. I thought it was fun. It definitely had feelings of Once More with Feeling. If anybody who's watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I definitely could see the thing there. Again, like Chris said, I like the fact that they weren't just singing because they were singing. That there was a reason behind it. That they tied it into the story, and gave them a reason to. And the fact that they publicly went out and said, "This is not normal. We should not be doing this."
Yes.
And I'm going to preempt you with your question. My favorite song, Klingon K-pop. I love it. And in hearing the story behind it, and I was watching a thing where they were talking with the director, the guy who directed this episode, and he said the same thing that you said, Chris, that is this the jump the shark moment? And, he said, with anytime you're doing comedy like this, and you have a bit that's so over the top, you have to commit. When you're looking at the script and you say, Klingons are going to start doing a boy band bit, you're just like, okay, let's go full bore. We have to commit to it. We have to commit to the bit. And it paid off in dividends in my and the fact that you have the flashing lights going on with it, it was just that was yes. And
you just knew that some people were going to be pissed off about that.
Oh yeah, and because Klingons do have a musical tradition, Klingon opera, and maybe in the back of your mind you're expecting when they sing Klingon opera, and then they go, nope, they're going full boy band. They're going full boy band. It was great. I loved it.
Right. Yeah, and Chris, it sounded like you were grumbling a little bit, like you didn't like K-pop.
The K-pop part was my cringe moment of the episode. And we talked about that at Steel City Con. Yeah, I think they could have gone the Klingon opera route, created something unique. But I also, logically, I guess it would make sense that they were singing some sort of human kind of music, because the signal that Uhura sent into the anomaly was actually human in nature. So that would make sense that it would kind of go on that way with them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I like what you're saying, Mark, about committing to the bit. I mean, those Klingons had to be, those actors had to be on board with it. I mean, why not? It's something so completely off the wall, and it was expected but unexpected, if that makes sense. If you're going to get Klingons to sing in a musical episode, why not? Why not make a K-pop?
Literally K-pop, Klingon pop.
Yeah. I personally love this episode.
It was fun.
Yeah, I have listened to the soundtrack quite a bit from start to finish. I've listened to it an embarrassing number of times. I may have been solely responsible for getting it to the top of the streaming charts. I don't know. Which it did do for a while. It made it to the top of the streaming charts on Apple Music and Spotify, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes,
nice.
And who'd have thought? And yes, Mark, very much Once More with Feeling vibes. And I think the inspiration was clear from the start.
Definitely.
That the writers and the songwriters and the writers of the episode definitely had that one in mind.
Yeah.
All right. My favorite song, I really, really enjoyed I'm the X. Ethan Peck is Spock's song. I thought
That was good.
I thought it was a wonderful the song had double meaning, right? He's the ex-boyfriend and the X in the equation. Very clever and very clever in the writing, very clever in the structure, and it fits Spock so well because what's more logical than algebra, right?
Right.
So that was my favorite song, and I mean, I guess honorable mention was "Keep Us Connected," which was Uhura's song.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that one as well. And then, of course, she gets, she's the one that is able to divine the solution that will break the field. Basically, by getting everybody to sing in unison,
Mm-hmm.
as the ensemble closing number for the musical. It made this nerd heart, it made this Broadway nerd's heart happy.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just say that. Yeah, I still think that Once More with Feeling is the superior musical episode, but this is close. Anybody else who's seen both Buffy and this want to weigh in on what is the better episode?
Oh, Buffy, definitely.
Okay.
Out of every little episode, Buffy's probably the best. It beats the Arrowverse Supergirl crossover. It beat that one definitely. They have a couple of little ones, bad ones. All the all the Xenon and Hercules ones are never really that good. I'm trying to think of more, but I can't remember more crossovers, more musical episodes.
Yeah, I can't think of too many major ones. It's always a gamble when they do one and doesn't always pay off.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Chris, were you a Buffy watcher? I can't remember.
I never watched a single episode of Buffy.
Okay.
I'll take your word for which one's better.
Sounds good. Right. And Mark, I think you're the last one to weigh in on this one.
Yeah, I watched Buffy, but I wasn't like a religious viewer of it. But I definitely think Once More with Feeling was better.
Yeah, kind of the originator of the entire conceit of a musical episode, and still the best. Yeah. All right. I had a feeling we were all going to agree on that, but it was, for me, it was close for a while, whether I was going to give Strange New Worlds the edge, if I'm being perfectly honest. So, but no, Buffy is better. I went back and watched it, and it just feels better executed. The songs are better. Yeah. I was wondering if I was going to go the other way or not, but no, still Buffy. All right. Any final thoughts on Subspace Rhapsody, gents?
I got two real quick things. I'm glad that they were able to find an actress to play Uhura who could actually sing. Because could you imagine if in this episode we had Uhura supposing to try to sound like Nichelle Nichols but had the voice of Roseanne instead? So I think it's nice that, that was a nice bonus that we got the good actress and the good singer in one package.
Yeah.
The other thing is there. This is amazing that people were debating this, but one part of the episode was where Kirk said that Carol was pregnant with his baby. There is a big debate going on Facebook and the Strange New Worlds fan pages if that he should have known she was pregnant or not. But if you watch Star Trek II, Kirk did know about David. He even says, "I did what you wanted. I stayed away. Why didn't you tell him?" But a lot of other people seem to think that he never knew and he was just shocked to find out. No, he knew. But I was surprised how much debate that was causing online in the fandom.
Well, to be fair, the movie was a long time ago, and some people probably haven't seen it for a long time.
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I don't think I ever had that question in my mind.
She didn't pull a Beverly.
Right. Yeah, she did not pull a Beverly. Correct.
That's true.
Yeah, that was a questionable decision, but it made, I guess, from her perspective, it made sense. I mean,
I was afraid of your dangerous lifestyle. Now I'm going to live a dangerous lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. How many lives did Starfleet destroy that were important to Crusher? Right.
Yep.
You have to understand where she was coming from with
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah. So, all right. Anybody else have any final thoughts before we discuss the season finale?
I don't have anything.
Oh, good.
Okay. All right. The season finale, episode 10, Hegemony. The Enterprise investigates an attack on a colony at the edge of Federation space. They face the return of a formidable enemy in the Gorn. We see quite a few different versions of the Gorn in this one, including the I can't remember what they called the big one at the end. Anybody
I can't
remember?
I just called it the big Gorn.
Basically, the xenomorph Gorn is what I call it.
That's my thing. You know, when you said the name of it, I said, AKA Aliens 3.
Pretty much. I mean,
I was half expecting George Kirk to go, "Game over, man! Game over!" I did love the episode, though. I did love the episode, though, but it was very Aliens 3. Yeah.
Yeah. What was with Spock's insistence that he could be the only one to do this?
That bothered me too. Like,
okay,
really, you're the only one who can do this. No one else on the ship has. Only you.
Well, yeah, because he has physical strength that nobody else has.
Yeah, I just thought there could have been a different way to do it. You know, I don't know.
Could it have something to do with him? Could it have had something to do with him pining over Christine? Like,
oh no, not at all.
No, I was going to say I don't think that would have had anything to do with it. I think he pretty much, that the breakup was kind of his transition back to the much more stoic and logic-driven Vulcan, burying the human half, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. I didn't think so, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Shah, what did you think of this one?
I enjoyed it. I mean, good story. Like, doing more with the Gorn was good. And I love that they introduced Scotty. That was really good.
Right.
The actor was pretty good to play him, so yeah, I'm glad about that. And yeah, I mean, it was just a really good episode.
All right. Yeah, how did we completely skip over Scotty and even mentioning that this was his debut on Strange New Worlds? That was almost as important as the episode, the rest of the episode itself, the main plot line. Mark, tell me what you thought of the actor's performance, Scotty.
I liked it. I liked getting a young Scotty, a very and how his whole figuring stuff out is very much from an engineer's point of view. I definitely like that. And, yeah, I thought it was a very, we've seen different iterations of this character. And I love James Doohan, but to actually get one that can actually do a Scottish accent.
Well, I mean, it kind of helps that he's from Scotland.
Yeah, that does help that he is Scottish. But yeah, I've seen so many Scottish Star Trek fans who love they'll say we love James Doohan. He is Scotty, but that was a horrible Scottish rogue.
Yeah.
So finally get to one who can actually is Scottish was kind of cool. But yeah, overall, just like I said before, a great episode. A good core based, very bloody episode. I mean, to see the, all the blood smear everywhere and just the darkness of it and yes, definitely can tell inspiration from the Alien movies. But just a really good episode and a good cliffhanger too. Surprised we got the cliffhanger ending like that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they've kind of they were teasing the Gorn as being as being a part of the season, and then we don't get them till the end.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's why they, have us. I mean, this is it's not the first time something like this has been done in Trek. Of course, we've had some classic season finales that were cliffhangers.
Best of both worlds.
Yes,
yep.
Exactly. So it's not unheard of, but it's good that they are adopting that that with Strange New Worlds. That means it's hopefully means. I mean, strike. Writer's strike aside, it means that we've got more Strange New Worlds coming.
Yeah.
So, let's see, Chris. What are your thoughts on Hegemony and the actor that plays that they got to play Scotty in this one?
I thought it was a pretty good action-packed episode. Still learning a little bit more about the Gorn and their, I guess, I don't know if you want to call it lack of like empathy for life, I guess, with the way their reproduction is. I don't know. I thought overall it was pretty interesting. I like that it's going to be a cliffhanger, just like everybody was saying. And it kind of just left it with Pike's kind of not sure what he was going to do in terms of his orders. So I don't think it was a best of both worlds moment in intensity per se, but it was still good. Let's see, what else did I like about the episode? I guess that's pretty much it. I did like Scotty. They did a really nice job casting him. He kind of reminded me of a nice mix between James Doohan and Simon Pegg. Reminded me a little bit more of Simon Pegg's portrayal, but with being kind of like the goofy, jokey with the technology that he was using. But it was nice to see another original series character in here, and I can guarantee going into the next season they're going to start bringing probably some of the other characters in some sort of way too.
Yeah.
There are a lot of rumors going around online that they're going to reboot the original series. I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean, based on how they're bringing characters in, they would have a full cast to do it.
Yeah.
I personally hope they don't do that, but it's certainly possible.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the idea of a reboot of the original series.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think we should. I think that should be the sacred. I mean, we got our trilogy of movies in the Kelvin timeline. I think that's and then this crew of Strange New Worlds is really all we need.
Yeah,
but
right. I agree.
Yeah, personally, I think the next iteration of Trek should be set in the future.
Yes,
I'd like to see something post. Maybe not too far in the future, maybe not like Discovery era, but something set, let's say, after the Dominion War.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind saying something about, the fallout of what happened immediately after the Dominion War. Like,
right?
Like the few years afterward,
Yeah, I mean, we got the end of, sort of got a little bit of resolution. Well, not really, I guess, with Picard. That those changelings being the ones that were genetically experimented on by Starfleet. But I would like to see how things progress after the Dominion War.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you? I don't know. I assume that the changelings stayed in the Great Link, that they were, they got their resolution. I don't think they'll be bothering Starfleet anymore, but there's plenty of other threats out there, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Any final thoughts on this one?
No. All good.
Shah, what's up?
All good. All good.
Oh, okay. Chris, you got anything?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, that's all. We broke down all 10 episodes of Strange New World Season 2. We'd love to hear what you think. Once this episode releases, you can go to the Facebook or GNN posts about it and tell us your favorite episodes, your favorite moments, anything like that. We'd love to hear from you, and your comments might be featured on an upcoming episode of Captains Logs and Lightsabers. So interact wherever you see our post about this episode, and we'll read. We may read it on the next one. We are, fueled by the fans at GNN, and we want to hear from you. So make sure you comment. Make sure if you're listening to the show, if you haven't yet, like and subscribe. GNN has a new YouTube channel. Look for Geek News Now Official. Type all of that out into the YouTube search bar and you'll find us there. Like us, subscribe. You'll get all of the episodes of Captains Logs and Lightsabers, of our other podcasts on the show, including 2 that are hosted by our guests tonight. Shah, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Geek Gauntlet? Give us a 30-second elevator pitch about the show.
Yes, well, we speak of everything geek related over the week. Every week we talk about every show, comic book wise, science fiction wise, and such. Sometimes fantasy, if stuff is out. We put as much news from the past week as we can. That's why we call it Gauntlet, because we run the gauntlet of just speaking as fast as we can, of as much news as we can, packing it into an hour or so. That's what we do. Please come listen. We record every Saturday at 10. Yeah, please come join.
Yeah. The Geek Gauntlet's a fun show to watch. Really good, really good chat. I know the hosts really keep an eye on the chat, and it's a very active live chat. So if you are free on 10 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays, right?
10 Eastern, yeah.
Yeah, so 10 Eastern live on the Geek News Now official YouTube channel. That is the Geek Gauntlet, and you also get it on the GNN podcast feed as well. That leaves us with Mark. Again, Mark is another one of our GNN podcast hosts, so I'm going to have him tell you a little bit about the two shows that he has.
Well, our main one is, of course, War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast hosted by myself and Garrett K. Jones, who is a fantasy writer. He has written, I think, 4 books. He's gonna hate me, but I cannot remember the names of them off the top of my books. But he is a published author, and we just discuss Star Wars in all aspects. Currently, we are doing our reviews of the review and breakdown of the Ahsoka series. I've been doing this for about 6 years, and really honored and proud to be part of GNN. And my other show that I'm doing, which I'm really excited about, and it's been so cool, is a show called Star Wars Through the Eyes of a Child. It's on our YouTube. It's going to be up on the GNN YouTube coming soon. I think the first 2 episodes are already up there. But basically, myself and my daughter, who's 9 or going to be 9, we are watching the Clone Wars animated series in chronological order, and then discussing it. And it's a lot of fun watching her kind of become a Star Wars fan, and kind of go through this journey with her, and seeing her fall in love with these characters that I, didn't grow up watching, but, kind of, seeing her kind of grow into the fandom like this has been cool. And ironically, her favorite character is Rex.
Nice.
She loves Rex. So,
do you think we'll get Captain Rex in Ahsoka?
I'm hoping.
I think they mentioned that. I'm not sure.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. So,
and I assume it's going to be Tim Morrison, right?
Oh, it has to be.
Yeah. I mean, he's played live action. He already played a clone in live action in Obi-Wan. So yeah. Obviously that's the only right choice, right?
Exactly.
All right. Chris. I know you have a couple little side projects of your own. Why don't you tell us about those?
Yeah, I have a small Star Trek YouTube channel that I do called Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. It's really more of a hobby at this point. I try to get episodes out as much as I can. I've released 96 videos over the last, coming up, on maybe 6 years. Just kind of talking about the different series and different topics related to the Star Trek universe. But you can find that on YouTube. Just go onto YouTube, type in Pittsburgh's Trek Chat in the search engine, and it'll take you directly to my channel.
All right. And as for me, I think I'm the only one that doesn't have any real side projects other than this show. So, I occasionally make appearances on a Disney Cruise Line focused podcast, but I talk about Disney Cruise Line with the hosts, as well as some other cruise lines that I've been on in my adventures. That's the DCL Duo. I've been on there quite a few times. I've appeared on a few other shows as well, but this is really the only place where you can find me on a regular basis. So until we have another episode of Captains Logs and Lightsabers, this is episode 30. My name is Jonathan. I was joined by Mark and Shah and, of course, Chris. May the Force be with you.
And live long and prosper.
This is the way.